Delegates, I now call on the General Secretary, Michael Gillespie, to address Congress and to introduce the annual report. Michael, please.
Accordia, delegates, guests, members of the press. I would like to welcome you all to Wexford, to the TUI Annual Congress 2022. At long last, a Congress that's in person. My first in person, although it's my third annual Congress. Very strange now when you think of it. There were doubts and alternative plans had been drafted just in case that this couldn't occur. But we're here now for a regular Congress after the 3 long years. Since we last met in person, we have lost colleagues, TUI members, loved ones. On behalf of the TUI, I offer sincere sympathies to their families, friends and colleagues as we honour their memory in Congress 2022. We must also remember those members who are still suffering from COVID-19 and its various after effects. Let's not forget that the pandemic is still with us. In our schools, colleges, centres, TUI members, by action and accomplishment, and by keeping the needs of their students to the forefront, maintained and delivered a quality education service. All TUI members should be rightly proud of what was achieved given the limited resources available and where we started from in March 2020. In January 2021, driven by a determination to protect the health and welfare of our members, their students and their communities, we won the moral argument and forced the government to do a U-turn on its plans to reopen schools prematurely. And we negotiated a phased and safer reopening that had regards to the phasing of the vaccination program as it was rolled out. The TUI made sure that our most vulnerable members were protected by demanding and successfully gaining that they would not return to face-to-face teaching. Because of our work and representations, high-risk teachers, teachers over 60, and pregnant teachers were better protected from COVID in that time. However, COVID is not the only issue that we are facing. The challenges are many and varied. Pay discrimination suffered by some of our members, reform agendas in all our sectors, a chronic lack of necessary funding. Threats to conditions of service are all still with us. So too is pointless bureaucracy and excessive workload, and the erosion of our discretionary and personal time. We together in the TUI will take on these challenges and will succeed in making improvements for our members. Just as Patricia Hurley, whom we remember today, did for the members in Wexford, that she represented as TUI Vice President in 1972. Colleagues, what occurred on the 24th of February 2022 is having and will have a major impact on all our lives. On that day, ordinary people's lives, like us, changed in unimaginable ways. The appalling devastation visited on the people of Ukraine is both brutal and shocking. Millions have been forced from their homes and homeland. Their plight must be the concern of our nation and our profession. Ireland is playing its part by offering a safe sanctuary to the people of Ukraine. Irish educators, including TUI members, stand ready to do all we can to provide an appropriate education service to all who need it when they arrive on our shores. As we witness the atrocities and the devastation in Ukraine, we know that democracy cannot and should not be taken for granted. We need our united voice to be heard. We must be true to our values. Autocrats and demagogues in Russia, or anywhere else for that matter, must not succeed. I ask you now to stand for a minute in solidarity with the people of Ukraine, in the hope that peace will soon be established and the Ukrainian people can rebuild their country and their lives. as we welcome students from Ukraine, strategic planning is needed so that we have the capacity in September to deal with the numbers who almost certainly will be arriving over the next couple of months. We know that already thousands have arrived who will be looking to attend schools in the last term. We also know that even larger numbers will be here in September. An effective plan and contingency arrangements need to be available before schools close at the beginning of June. Sufficient and targeted investment must be made available to assist Ukrainian students when they arrive in our schools. This must be additional to the resourcing required to assist those students who are struggling and will continue to struggle due to the lost opportunities during the COVID pandemic. The stakeholder advisory group that worked to good effect during the pandemic has now been re-established to deal with the issues related to the Ukrainian situation. Planning and preparation are being dealt with at regular meetings of the advisory group, and TUI representatives will, as always, be guided by the TUI's core values and will represent members so that a quality public service education can be maintained for all learners, taking fully into account their diversity of needs. While matters of global importance of life and death obviously take precedence, the Union, on your behalf and with your active input, has been vigilant in safeguarding the quality and high standards of our public service education. We are currently awaiting a report on the junior cycle reform and its implementation. We all know its shortcomings, subject specifications that fail in achieving the required learning outcomes, CPD that did not deliver the quality of training and support that teachers deserve and need, other unintended consequences of the way the junior cycle reform has been rolled out. To be credible, the report must highlight the shortcomings and faults. Practitioners must be listened to. Junior cycle must adapt and change to make up for any deficits that are identified in the report. This should be done on a subject-by-subject basis. The junior cycle must be fit for purpose as the very foundation of any senior cycle worthwhile reform. Senior cycle reform will be addressed at this conference. The TUI has welcomed many elements of the recent announcement by the Minister in this regard. The removal of the ring fencing of LCA and LCVP, access to transition year for all students who wish to avail of it, with no artificial limits now being applied in our schools. However, these changes being proposed require additional resources if they are to be successfully delivered. And the Minister is very short on the detail in this respect. TUI has long favoured second and additional components of assessment, where they are appropriate, meaningful, and assess something that cannot be assessed in a written exam. The TUI fully supports the use of orals, orals, projects, day practicals, portfolios as additional components of assessment. The TUI wants to keep the second and additional components of assessment in the 27 of the 41 subjects now at senior cycle that already have them, and build on these where appropriate. The new second components of assessment for the remaining 14 subjects must, like the 27 already in existence, be organised and externally assessed by the SEC for reliability, validity and integrity. In any reform process, we have a duty to maintain the public trust and the international reputation for excellence that the Leaving Cert enjoys. Let us be clear, as we in the TUI has always been, we are opposed to the Minister's suggestion that second components of assessment should be marked by the student's own teachers at school level. And with the role and we don't agree with the role of the State Examinations Commission being reduced to a moderator. TUI is opposed to the dilution of the objectivity and the compromise standards that this would involve. In the post-primary ecosystem, all the elements are interdependent. Foolishly remove or damage any one element and it can have a major implication for the ecosystem. The fact that 94% of students participate all the way through to senior cycle could be damaged forever by ill-advised interference. As a science teacher, you know that plant the right wildflowers and you attract the bees. But lose the bees and you lose all the flowers. It's obvious that change requires resourcing. Time being the biggest resource needed in our schools. To generate that time, schools need their teacher allocation enhanced to allow, for example, that LCA students have the flexibility to do maths from the traditional Leaving Cert program. Increased allocation and flexibility will be needed so that all students can avail of transition year. Delaying the issues of allocation by the department they issued over the Easter holidays is not to inspire confidence in delivering this. Another simple example illustrates the lack of balance and fairness in the current allocation model. Schools with over 900 pupils have 3 deputy principals. This would suggest a ratio of deputy principals, 1 for every 300 pupils. However, a school with 300 pupils gets half a deputy principal in the allocation that issued over the Easter holidays. Excessive workload, much of it bureaucratic in nature, is eroding the morale of teachers and is driving fine teachers from the profession. The changes that are proposed in senior cycle cannot be allowed in any form to increase the already severe workload teachers, deputy principals, principals, and any post holders have to do. What is urgently needed is a very significant increase in the schedule of posts of responsibility. Without this, schools simply cannot meet the pastoral, administrative, and curriculum needs in our schools. Not to mention the critical emergent needs to deal with the fallout from the pandemic, to appropriately and generously look after our new Ukrainian students. Add to all this the demographic increase in numbers entering our school, which begets its own demands. Then add on to this the proposed reforms in senior cycle. Without additional posts, schools will not be able to cope with the multitude of demands. Current post holders, including principal and deputy principals, already swamped by administrative and bureaucratic overload, will not be able to meet the identified needs in this changing and rapidly evolving post-primary system. Schools cannot be expected and should not be asked to continue indefinitely to work on an emergency footing, all brought about in an austerity crisis that is long over. The TUI view in this regard was made clear. We demanded and secured in 2022 the running of Leaving Cert with modified examinations and second component of assessment, and the running of the junior cycle. The TUI stated very clearly that there was no possibility of a hybrid model. In 2020 and 2021, teachers had shown commitment, adaptability, and resilience in applying emergency arrangements. We carried out certain functions in relation to calculated and accredited grades on a strictly no precedent basis. This no precedent approach was agreed by government and by the department. However, again this year, we saw a chorus line calling for what were temporary arrangements to be made permanent. We correctly and resolutely opposed that opportunistic call. It's therefore deeply disappointing that the Minister, in her recent announcement and without any consultation with the unions, has said that the orals and music practicals will stay placed over the Easter break. It is notable that this has not gone to plan for the Minister. Easter is late this year, and teachers were exhausted and could not commit to acting as examiners. Tired students were required to do 3, even 4 orals and practical exams over a very concentrated period. The TUI is calling on the Minister to review and revise her proposal regarding the scheduling of orals and practicals over the Easter holidays. Colleagues, we now face inflation. It is inflation that arises from supply issues, which is harder to deal with than demand-led inflation. The practical manifestation of this inflation is the increases in the cost of energy, fuel, and even food, which we have not seen in decades and are of grave concerns to our members and to wider society. Inevitably, given inflationary pressure, significant pay increases are reasonably being sought by workers, including teachers, lecturers, and other educators. Recently, the Public Service Committee of ICTU requested a review of building momentum due to the dramatic level of inflation being experienced. Energy, fuel, and food costs have all increased very steeply over the last several months. For example, a teacher who moved outside the M50 in search of affordable accommodation, be it a home or an affordable rent, now find the cost of fuel prohibitive in making the necessarily daily commute to work. It's costing them a lot to go to work. We await a meaningful response from the government on this issue. For the TUI, the outstanding issue under building momentum, the sectoral bargaining negotiation, represents an opportunity to heal a deep wound inflicted by the government, the scandal of pay discrimination. It's 13 years since government began to apply a series of cuts to teachers' pay, and 11 years since the shameful and discriminatory cuts to the pay of new entrants to the profession were imposed by the governments. Although we have achieved a great deal in restoring much of the difference, we still have large numbers of members who earn less than their colleagues for doing the same work. TUI under sectoral bargaining has costed and agreed to forego the 1% pay increase for teachers due on the 1st of February 2022, so the equivalent monetary value can be used to finally eliminate pay discrimination against new entrant teachers. This money, our money, will allow payment of the Professional Masters of Education allowance, currently valued at €1,314, to those who have commenced teaching since February 2012. I'm delighted to report to you delegates that a long-held aim of the TUI has now been achieved. We have reached agreement with the government in the sectoral bargaining negotiations for the teacher grade, that the HDIP and PME will be paid to all post-2012 entrants, backdated to the 1st of February 2022. That's your achievement. You went on strike over that. This is a major victory for you delegates. Your unfailing and principled solidarity with our new entrant colleagues underpinned and energized the TUI campaign on this key issue. However, we are still seeking a return to the pre-2011 system of commencing newly fully qualified and registered post-primary teachers onto the third point of the scale in recognition of their now longer unpaid training period. The money to end this scandal, to right this wrong, is available. It's our money, and it's in the exchequer coffers. In effect, is being donated by teachers themselves to solve the long-standing issue. It shouldn't have to be, but it is. You have shown integrity and a sense of justice where your government have failed to do so. It's bizarre and perverse that the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform is dragging its feet and is delaying the final resolution of this issue. Is telling teachers that we cannot use what is definitively our money in an ethical matter of our choosing. The opposition by DEPR to resolve the scourge of pay discrimination must stop now, not least because pay discrimination remains a central cause of teacher recruitment and retention. In further education, the sectoral bargaining circular has already issued, giving a 1% pay increase to all grades since February the 1st, 2022. Unfortunately, there was not enough money available given the numbers in the grades to make any meaningful difference for new entrants. So all the relevant grades have now received the 1% pay increase. At third level, although we sought information on staffing numbers and costs by grade as early as March 2021, unbelievably, we are still awaiting accurate and dependable costings so that the final decisions can be made about the use of the 1% fund for our third level members. In one other respect, the negotiations under the terms of building momentum have been very frustrating. The Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform, Michael McGrath, announced last Thursday approval of the report from the independent hours body in relation to the Haddington Road Agreement. The TUI welcomes the fact that our colleagues in Youthreach and in other relevant grades will be restored to their pre-2013 working hours with effect from the 1st of July 2022. This involves a return to 35 hours a week from 37 hours per week. However, we are, to say the least, very disappointed that the body did not see any basis to adjust the additionality introduced under the Haddington Road Agreement for post-primary teachers and our third-level academic staff members. Our third-level members had to relinquish long-established closure days, which resulted in additional working days and 78 hours per year on top of the flex hours of 2 hours per week required under Croke Park. Evening work that was weighted by 1.5 was reduced to a weighting of 1.25. The independent body stated that this should be dealt with under a review of the academic contract. The TUI demands that this review must be based on the 2013 contract, not on an inferior austerity-based contract. On top of the 33 hours imposed on post-primary teachers by Croke Park, the 2013 Haddington Road Agreement made further impositions. Supervision and substitution allowance of €1,769 was abolished. The annual quantum of hours was increased from 37 to 43 hours. There was also a new rostering system introduced, increasing the maximum delivery from 1.5 hours per week to 3 hours per week. The rostering also introduced the nomination of 5 class periods for greater flexibility and availability. The Lansdowne Road Agreement restored the payment, €1,592. We all became new entrants because they restored the cut rate, the new entrant rate, to all teachers who now must undertake S&S. This was not an allowance, but an increase to every point on scale so that S&S is now built into our contracts. The independent hours body stated that as teachers are being paid a restored allowance, completely wrong, it should not look at the additionality imposed under the Haddington Road Agreement. The TUI has 2 major issues with this. The payment should be restored to pre-2013 value, uncut. And the hours of availability should be restored to the pre-2013 model. Restoration is needed so that we have equality, again, from next July with all other public servants who have been restored to their 2013 working hours and status. In the further and adult education sector, it is simply unacceptable that many of our members still do not have agreed terms and conditions and an incremental salary scale. Tutors are a case in point. We have an agreement referred to as the Chairman's Note that tutors will be provided with a long overdue career structure. Implementation of this agreement on fair terms has been seriously frustrated by both departments. This is intolerable. The TUI has at recent meetings been assured that this matter will be addressed and the TUI will resolutely pursue this abject failure of the management to address the issue, which is completely unacceptable. At third level, the project to establish 5 new technical universities is now close to completion, after many years of work, effort, and contention. The TUI has a very ambitious vision for the creation of a vibrant TU sector, and we will continue to work with those who share our determination to develop and build on the strengths and rich traditions and achievements of this sector. To achieve this ambition, there must be unstinting practical commitment by the government, DFERIS and managements. The technological university sector must be properly funded and resourced and supported. We note with growing concern also the fact that DKIT and IADT have not yet been included in the evolution of a TU sector. This is deeply disappointing to our members in the affected branches and to the membership nationally. TUI will pursue this matter with vigour until the 2 institutions are appropriately brought into and accommodated within the TU structure. Additional resourcing far beyond what is currently available is essential if our policymakers generally want to ensure that every learner is provided with a level playing field and the clear opportunity to achieve the maximum potential. The latest OECD Education at a Glance report of 2021 shows that out of 36 countries for which figures are provided, none spends a lower proportion of national wealth on education than Ireland. The pandemic has brought the effects of this sustained underinvestment into a very sharp focus. I now move to talking about the organisation. We have had changes in head office in 2021, both in terms of appointment of new staff and the departure of long-term colleagues. Aidan Kenny, Assistant General Secretary, took a career break, and we wish him well in his new role. The resulting vacancy for an Assistant General Secretary on a fixed-term specific purpose contract was advertised publicly in accordance with Rule 68, and Anne Mulcahy was the successful candidate, and her position is for ratification at Annual Congress 2022. Elizabeth and Seamus Orski, who have maintained the TUI gardens for a long number of years and who are former TUI members, also announced their intention to retire, and we wish them well and congratulate them on the work they've done in maintaining our TUI gardens in the pristine condition that any of you who visit head office see. Mick O'Rourke, who as a service provider created the union's membership database and maintained it for over 30 years, also informed us of his intention to retire. He has undertaken to maintain the current service until the TUI has commissioned and implemented a new system. I would like to thank Mick for his service to the TUI for many, many years. The pandemic has shown a shortcoming in our IT provision, in our phone systems, in the hardware that we use in the TUI currently. The servers we use are near end of life. This has led to a full review of our needs and the formation of a modernization plan. The review was carried out after looking at the situation in its entirety and taking a lot of professional advice. A decision to create a whole new system seemed to be the best solution given the circumstances. Piecemeal upgrades and replacements would delay rather than provide a solution. The purchase of a system that is integrated and links all the systems is the best option. After much consultation and consideration, it was decided that the TUI will build a new membership relationship management system, an MRM system. The MRM system will encompass a new membership database, moving all our data into the cloud, a new integrated phone system, and the hardware necessary to support this move across head office, officials, executive members, branches, and workplaces. The TUI engaged Hart Square, a consultant with extensive experience in this area, to advise on this change and help us to select a partner capable of achieving our aims and objectives. Hart Square, after an intensive analysis of the TUI works, put together a very detailed tender document to help select a partner to create a TUI MRM system. The TUI looks forward to this significant change and the benefits it will bring for our membership. We hope to have the system fully operational by September 2023. This will require a large investment of both time and money. The TUI staff is supportive of this initiative and is prepared to put the significant effort and engage with the change management that is required to deliver this project with a partner. Again, this year, your executive committee responded to the many challenges and issues that arose and made decisions in good faith designed to serve the best interests of members. The use of virtual meetings because of the pandemic has increased the level of interaction and participation by members and has also increased the availability to branches of area representatives and officials. This has meant a very serious investment of their time, which ultimately has benefited the members and the long-term evolution of the union. I thank them all for their effort and commitment to the membership and to the union. The past year, 2021, was an extraordinary year for the union. The TUI had learned a lot in 2020 and has had to implement rapidly, with very little or no advance warning, new work models and roles. The union further adapted in 2021 and built on this experience. We are continuously evolving to meet the new challenges and the situations that they create. The new MRM system, when it comes to fruition, will further change the way we communicate and how the union operates in the future. And the level of work this year did place a huge demand on that, and we hope the MRM system will alleviate and change some of that. The heavy demands and changes were met, though, effectively and efficiently, and for that, I thank all the TUI staff. The TUI staff will continue in this change period to meet the needs of TUI members with efficiency and a high standard of service, even while we undergo all these planned changes. I would also like to take this opportunity to commend the Retired Members Association for their excellent service it provides and for the support it gives to those retired colleagues, especially those who've encountered difficulty. The RMA is a valuable part of the TUI family. So too are our other two associations that constitute parts of the TUI. The Principal and Deputy Principals Association, the PDA, continues to ensure that the perspective of the TUI is rounded and broad-based and cognizant of the wide range of difficulties facing all our members at post-primary. The insights given to us, and to me particularly by the PDA, has been especially useful in the context of the pandemic and the associated changes that incurred. The same applies to the Adult Education Officers Association and the expertise it brings to bear in relation to further and adult education. However, it is you delegates, the branch officers and the TUI activists who are the irreplaceable core of the TUI. TUI is a members' organization for the members, run for the members and by the members. It is you, our members, first that we turn to for advice if we are in trouble, and support. You are the embodiment of the TUI. It's your eyes, your ears, your voice at all levels that have to be listened to. I want to thank you, one and all, for your truly exceptional commitment to the union and its members in these exceptional times. The TUI is the second largest education union in the country now, with over 20,000 teachers, lecturers, and other educators across second level and third level, and further in adult education. This breadth of experience and expertise gives us a unique understanding of the needs and dynamics of the Irish public education system, an understanding that we will share with Minister Foley and Minister Harris, both of whom will address our Congress this year. Finally, colleagues, I am pleased to report that, as you have seen from the annual accounts and the reports earlier, the finances of the TUI are all in good order and that membership continues to increase. Colleagues, the direction of the TUI, the analysis of risk and opportunity, the identification and confirmation of policy, the campaign priorities will be set by you, the delegates, at this conference. The issues are important, never more so. I know that by your deliberations and your coherent and strategic decisions, you will show the Union also to be in good operational order and fit and able to meet with confidence and conviction whatever challenges are coming our way. It's my privilege as General Secretary to present the Annual Congress 2022, this annual report.